Hi guys, welcome to Artipret. This is a channel where we look at art of all kinds and do a bit of thinking about it. It's been a really long time since I posted, and there are multiple reasons for it. Life happens. There were a lot of life changes that happened to me on a personal level, good and bad, of course. A lot of getting used to things, and also had to deal with a few mental health issues. Of course, I'm totally fine right now. Don't worry about it. But I'm really sorry for the uh, delay in uploading my videos. I actually did a recording of an analysis video about 1.5, 2 years ago. And for some reason, I didn't have the courage to actually post it. And I will try to finish up that video as soon as possible and post it on my channel. Yeah. So, this out of the way, I want to talk about a new breath of life that came to me. I'm currently residing in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I don't know, maybe many of you have known this. There's a huge Indian community here, and of course, exceptional artists. Every weekend I'm always going out to watch something really marvelous, and I wanted to start a small review of the shows that I watched because there are some really good performances which have inspired me and made me think about these things as an artist. One such event was called Sanchari. Oh, and I'm really sorry because I was used to scripted content. Now I just want to try my hand at speaking impromptu, and I have my aids. This is the book that I write down all my notes about all the performances I've watched. And yeah, I have my iPad here just to like read some of the facts. So let me talk about this particular event called Sanchari, which happened on May 27th. It was conducted by Laya Dhwani Academy of Performing Arts. And it was an exploration of Padams and Javalis. There were 7 artists in total, and they are the top artists in the Bay Area. Oh my god, it was beautiful. That's the first word I can talk about, and how clever it was. So Snigdha Akka, that is Snigdha Venkataramani Akka, was the one who kind of organized the event, and she also danced. I have a lot more to say about her dance. She is such a talented artist. I really want to talk about her as well. So, as I mentioned, there were 7 different artists in this particular event. They were Roopa Anand akka, Deepa Mahadevan akka, Kavita Tirumalai akka, Ganesh Vasudeva Anna, Jyotsna Vaidee akka, Shirni Kanth akka, and Snigdha Venkataramani akka. I want to break down this review into smaller bits where I kind of compare and contrasts the different Naikas and the different pieces that were actually featured. So I want to talk about them individually as well as kind of do a companion comparison. I hope you like this.
Hi. So, before we actually begin the reviews, I would just like to state that these are just based on my opinions, which are based on my observations. And I'm sure there are people who have uh, a difference of opinion on these. And I would love to have a nice discussion in my comment section down below. Another thing I would like to add is that this is just the commentary on the performance that I witnessed on that day and specifically those pieces. And I may do a few comparisons here and there, but this does not reflect the entire body of work by any of these artists. I just want to mention these. Another small request is that if you watch the entire video and you like the content, please do press the like button and subscribe. That'll be very helpful. Thank you so much. Let's continue with the review right now.
Okay, let us start with the first two pieces of the evening. They were a Padam and a Javali, respectively. The Padam was performed by Kavita Akka, and the Javali was performed by Roopa Akka. Apart from them being one and two, I also think that they were very beautiful companion pieces since both of them deal with Dutika Bhava. That means, so Dutika Bhava is talking about a messenger between the two lovers and how they are the link, sometimes the link between the hero and heroine. The first piece was in Raga Dhanyasi and portrayed an Abhisarika Naika. Abhisarika Naika is a type of heroine where she just leaves everything and she says, I'm going to go follow my hero. I don't care. If I know he is there, I'm just going to walk to him. I'm I don't care about waiting. I don't care about what people say. I will just go to him. That kind of a Naika is called an Abhisarika Naika. So in this particular piece, the hero was Lord Muruga. Lord Muruga, right? So he is the son of Shiva and Parvati. So our heroine wants to go out and talk to him, and she is extremely enamored. And the cleverness of Kavita Akka's portrayal here was there was a beginning part of the show where she was talking about the behavior of this Naika. You know, she was going and talking to them. And she was telling everyone, have you seen Muruga? Have you seen Muruga? Where do I go? How do I go? Oh my god, Muruga, Muruga, Muruga. Yes, the Naika is in love, but nobody else is. So they're very detached from it. And the villagers clearly kind of are villagers or city people or whatever, the folks around her basically, are just looking at her and thinking, what is she doing? Oh my god, did you see the way she acted? And there's this gossip mongering that happens. And they're mocking the heroine. And that was very cleverly portrayed because the heroine was completely unaware of the people around her and people were like noticing her small moves and mocking her. So the friend shows up and says, Amma, what is this? Then she takes the heroine and she puts her like she makes sure that the heroine is there. It's just the two of them. She locks the door and she talks to her. So that's where the song begins, where she talks about how she should not so shamelessly just go towards Lord Muruga. And so here, I feel that the main person of the entire piece is the friend. She is actually able to talk to her and say, calm down, you don't have to go right now. And tries to give her advice. So she is being very mature. She is being very like like an elder sister of sorts, you know? And the cleverness of the piece, I feel, was how Kavita Akka finally choreographed it in a way where she said, I understand that you really want to be with him. I understand your wants and your needs, that you need to be near him. So she says, like at least I'm not sure if this is what's there in the lyric or if this is her creativity, but the way she did it was, she showed, it's completely dark. And she says, now instead of being a Divabhisarika, means a kind of Abhisarika who goes boldly during the day, she says, be a Ratrabhisarika. It means in the night, when there is no one, you can just hide and you can go to your Lord. And it was a very clever and very cute piece. It was a very good way to start the evening. Uh, it it was portrayed again very very beautifully by Kavita Akka. And actually, I've seen Kavita Akka in a performance, like a full Marga performance previously, and I have a lot more things to say about it, more things than this, of course. And I that was actually my one of my first performances that I had watched in the Bay Area. So that will probably happen soon. But yeah, I liked her dance. Her abhinaya was very strong, especially while she was portraying the the situation of establishing the situation of the heroine itself. That was actually very strong. Yeah, that's my small review and like breakdown of what was happening in the Padam. The fact that I'm able to recall these small details shows how vividly it was actually performed. Because it has been quite a while. I do have my notes, but it has been a while. I may not be able to give this amount of detail for everything, but yeah, this is a testament to how cleverly it was put. Similarly, we have another Dutika Bhava performance by Roopa Anandaka. This was in Raga Kamach. It was a Dharmapuri Subbarayar Javali. And the Naika that is being portrayed here is a Virahot Kandita Naika. Virahot Kandita Naika is someone who is separated from her lord, and she is feeling a lot of sorrow at the thought of not being near him. So, Viraha or being separated can be portrayed in so many different ways. It can be sweet and sad, it can be painfully sorrowful. It could be a very acute feeling of, why is he not here? If he's not here this instant, I will die, like it just comes across. It's a huge spectrum of missing some, and it's a very favorite kind of a naika for a lot of composers because there is so much to play around. Oh, I want to tell another small, like, brief thing about these different naikas. They are eight in number, basically describing the way a heroine feels and reacts to love. There are eight different kinds of heroines. I can do a different video on Ashtanayika if you guys want it. But the interesting thing is, like, so this by the way, this concept has been given in Natya Shastra, but a lot of these padams and javalis and a lot of songs that's there does not have to adhere very closely to what is being set in these rules. So, a particular piece, when you look at it, when you read the lyrics and try to understand the meaning or whatever, it can be interpreted in multiple ways. So, a particular piece can, be part of two different nayikas or like shades of two different nayikas. So there is no like hard and fast rule that if this is a Virhot Kandita nayika, she has to behave in this exact way. Like that's not entirely true. That's just a small thing I wanted to say. But again, going back to Rupa Akka's dance, it was in Raga Kamach, Dutika Bhavam. So here, the nayikas and the heroine is very much in love, and here the hero is Krishna. So she's very much in love and she's thinking about him, and she's so full of like, oh Krishna, Krishna kind of a thought process. She's lost in her love. The friend actually goes to Krishna and says, Nari Mani, like that girl is the one who's so eagerly waiting for you. Please make haste and go to her. It's the antithesis of the previous Naika. The Naika there was telling the heroine, don't go to him, not now. Go when it's night. This heroine, this friend, on the other hand, is the one who looks at her friend, sees her plight, and says, you know what? I'll fix this situation. I will go talk to him. And the this particular Javali and this portrayal of Javali, there are a couple of things that actually strike to me. The first was Rupaka's Abhinaya was extremely subtle. It was very beautifully portrayed. She did not have to show exaggerated emotion to convey what she was thinking. And it was, a lot of things were conveyed with just her eye movements. For me, the highlight of the entire thing was again the setup. Here, the setup was uh, her describing the heroine herself. The heroine is thinking about her lord and is drawing a portrait. And then she keeps looking at him and being so much in love. And a friend comes, and then she tells her friend that, oh, she is in so much viraha, she's suffering from pangs of separation. Please go and bring Krishna. I feel that this was actually a double-edged sword. I think this Sanchari in the beginning, Sanchari is basically like a small storytelling element. This was before the song started. So this part, I feel, showcased the strengths of Rupaka's dance itself. So it was, the longing and the pining for him was shown in a very different way than what we are used to. Like I said, Viraha is a big spectrum. So here, she portrayed it in a very tender and very like sweet, like bittersweet kind of a way. You know, she's talking about him, she's looking at him, oh, my Nayaka, oh, I wish he was here. But it's not very acute, I'm going to die right now kind of a Nayaka. You know what I mean? So it was refreshing to see a different angle to Avirod Kandita Nayaka. And of course, it played to her strengths. But my criticism here was so much time was spent on establishing the heroine. We did not see much of the friend herself. So the friend saw that the heroine was in difficulty and she immediately went to Krishna. So I wish Rupaka spent a little more time establishing who this person was, because I would have really liked to see her take on this. But all in all, it was still very nice. I really enjoyed, and of course, like I mentioned, Rupaka's Abhinaya itself is very beautiful to watch. And these things came into my mind because I wanted to pick out and analyze and like trying to really go deeper into what I was seeing. So this is one of the things I want to talk about. And like I said, these two are very good companion pieces because in my head canon, the first Naika, who is like the first friend, is very clever, and the heroine is little naive. So she says, okay, okay, you wait here, you go to him in the night. In the meantime, she arranges all of this so that she goes and tells the Naika to be here. You know, I'm imagining that the second half where the Naika does, like, where you're portraying what kind of a heroine is this, but then she goes to Krishna and she tells she's waiting. Like, you know, in my head canon, these two people are related, but it's not really the case because one is portraying Muruga, but the other is Krishna. But still, you know, I like to think that way. I will be doing comparisons like this. There are some more. We'll have more fun. And yes, that's it for our first two. In this section, I want to talk only about one song. Hmm. I think it has very good companion piece to one other song, but we have to wait for that to happen. But the next in the line that I saw was the very famous Kshetrajna Padam, Ayyo Vegata, in Nadanama Kriya. And Jyotsna Akka performed this. I wanted to write what I felt, and I just have two lines. Let me read it out to you. Chills. I started crying, perfectly showing grief and heartache. That's it. I'll tell you the reason why. So I have seen Jyotsnaka's performances previously, And of course, that was also really amazing, and I have that. I want to talk about that as well. But this particular piece was something that was emotionally very haunting. You know, so there are some pieces where you cannot think critically. You don't want to. You just want to feel things. And this was one of those pieces. I don't know if I'm making sense to you or not, but the raw emotion that is felt during heartbreak or a breakup, or I or a death of a loved one, or for whatever reason you're separated and you can never be together with this person again, there is a genuine grief that was being portrayed. So this was one of those pieces I feel, even though has a Nayaka, it's not about him. It's about the nature of grief itself and dealing with the grief itself. And it was actually very difficult to watch. I wish, I think a small thing I would have liked to say, like, small criticism is that I wished I'd given a trigger warning for this, because this was not easy to watch. And the I think the trauma of the portrayal, like whatever was being shown, was very real. This person was in completely destroyed, the heroine, right? She just wanted to go about her day to day life, just do her natural thing. And one of her saris, she opens a sari, and the sight of that sari triggers her. And she spirals into this really, really, really painful place in her mind, where she's talking about how this sari used to be part of things between them. The Nayaka would lie on her, and the sari would go on his face, and you know, she just wraps the sari around her. She can feel the Nayaka's presence there, and she can also very strongly feel his absence. The way she was just like, I mean, the sari was imaginary, but to me, it didn't feel like it at all. Like, I could imagine it right there. Like, she was holding on to it, clutching, crying, and holding it tight, not wanting to let it go. It was very, very, very beautiful, very haunting. It was extremely difficult to watch. There were times where I don't even think I was able to see anything, because my eyes were so full of like tears. I could not do anything. And it was, I think, one of the best portrayals of grief I've ever seen. It was one of those pieces where it was just beyond dance. It was not, it was beyond music, it was beyond everything. It's just art in its most beautifully abstract form. I can't even pick it out and say what was art about it, what was dance about it, what was the technique. I can't think of anything. Like, my mind is blank. I can only feel the strong emotions that was put in front of us. And that experience to have happened is so perfect for a padam, because that's the point of a padam, right? You want people to feel. In that way, I think she achieved 100%. But I think on a even more superior level of it just being abstract art, I think, yeah, it was beyond dance. For people who don't like to watch classical dance, for people who can't understand classical dance, even if they saw this piece, I think they will be crying, like ugly crying. And I was ugly crying almost, because there were people I couldn't ugly cry. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was extremely powerful, and it's very beautiful. It's like a black box where it's very difficult for me to break through things critically. But that said, the beauty of it itself is extremely alluring. And it Yeah, it was beautiful the way it ended. I can still see the way she was on the floor trying to feel the sari because he had he had lay on he had laid on her, and she can feel the sari there, and she can feel his touch, she can feel him, knowing that he's not there with her. That pain, it was too real. And I hope, Akka, if you see this, please put a trigger warning. I think there will be people who are going through a rough time who will probably find it difficult. And me, I'm having a perfectly happy relationship and I could break down. So I can't even imagine about other people. Yeah. But yeah, it was one of my favorite pieces. Definitely. And yeah, the definite favorite pieces of hers specifically, because I have seen a couple of other extremely beautiful pieces from her. I will talk about it another time, but just for like spoilers, whatever. I want to talk about this piece called Kunti. Oh man, that was a surreal experience. If I had to choose between Kunti and this, I would not know which to choose. But both of them are extremely beautiful. I think, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I I have gone on to this place where I'm repeating myself, but you have to see it to actually get an idea. It's an emotional experience. And I have another small spoiler. I want to talk about another favorite piece of mine from the same evening, from a different artist. I will talk about her piece a little later, but I think it contrasts this so much. And again, I want to talk about these two things hand in hand to try to give you an idea of what I felt about these two things. And I feel the next piece genuinely solved a lot of problems for me. Like I mentioned, it was a gut wrenching experience to watch the Kshetrajna Padam. And we all needed something very light, we needed something very silly, we needed something to just laugh, we needed something to just make ourselves feel a little better, and not eternally tormented by grief. And that's where the genius of Snigdha Akka comes into play. She portrayed this Javali, which has a Parakiya Naika. Actually, initially when she said Parakiya Naika, cheating on husband, I mean, I thought it was going to be the very famous Javali Samayamide, but it was actually not. It was Paripovalavera Javali. So, here, on a both emotional as well as a technical level, there are a lot of things to talk about. Then let's talk about this Naika. I said that she is a Parakiya Naika. What does that mean? So, uh, different heroines are also classified based on their relationship, marital relationship with their partners, right? So, Swakiya Naika, for instance, is someone who is the legal wife of a particular person. But Parakiya Naika is a kind of a heroine where she is an adulterer. She is having extramarital affairs, or like she's a part of that. She is not really a wife, but she's involved in things. What makes this particular piece that Snigdha portrayed very interesting is that this person is a morally reprehensible person. So basically, she is having she's having her lover in the house, and then she is asking him to leave very quickly because she thinks her husband will come home. If he comes home, he will yell at her and she'll be in trouble. So, right off the bat, You see that she is a very selfish person. She is breaking the trust of her partner. Um, she is only afraid for herself not to be caught rather than understanding that what she's doing is morally wrong. And there is her portrayal is is very interesting because when you're showing someone like this, what is your framing, right? That means I when you're looking at this piece and you're performing these things, are you on the side of the Naika and being sincere to what she feels and she believes? Or are you judging it in such a way that you're putting her in a situation and you're kind of like trying to understand where she fits into this whole machine, this whole world? And I feel this was done in a very smart way, because like I've seen a very straightforward portrayal of Samayamide, and I really don't like it, because it's like, what are you trying to say? It just is so wrong. Like, I don't like this kind of a like extramarital affair being showed as romantic. It's just so wrong. But here she is shown in a very ironic way. You're mocking her. She is the person, like, if it was set in a very comedic light, the entire situation, right? And you were laughing at her and what she was doing. She was very silly, she was very vain, and the beauty of it was because Snigdha Akka portrayed her in this like very like bordering like these old school over the top like villains kind of a way. So what is the setting that is here, and that thing, that was a very beautiful thing to do, and that's a very beautiful way to actually comment on a lot of different things. And I think this is a very beautiful way to think about the unreliable narrators here, because she is saying something to someone, but there is a different meaning overall. Like, I'll give you an instance. The irony of complaining that her husband might get angry when she is the one who's the cheater is on point. And like, her expressions also made was like perfect for it. And it was very obvious for the audience to catch these small things about the portrayal and say, yeah, that's funny. Like, she's complaining about her husband, but he has all the reason to complain about her, you know and then I was actually very interested to see, because when they initially read a small summary of the song, I heard that the husband will be angry, or husband can get angry. So there was this kind of a thing that was there in my mind. How would she show the anger of the husband itself? Because like I've mentioned, there can be lesser artists, like, people who haven't given it much thought, can portray anger in a very straightforward, very um how do you say this, in a very sincere, like, I am angry enough to you know kill the entire world kind of an anger, where it can go on a touch of abusive to give her some sort of props as to why she's doing this morally reprehensible thing. So I was willing to see how the anger was going to be portrayed, and I was very happy to see that it continued to be in the same light, where the anger was very justifiable anger, very light and very mild. It's exactly how normal people would actually portray. It wasn't those uncontrollable, scary, abusive anger. So again, there's a lot of smartness and a lot of cleverness that went into choreographing this piece and the character portrayals themselves, which I really had a fun time watching. Yeah, I think her comic timing was, I think, brilliant. It made me laugh so much. And the thing is, she was the silliness of the heroine was so obvious. I loved it. And this was a very good interpretation of a song where you have different kinds of heroines and always showing the, oh, I'm this very like high level person. It's not always fun, as artists we need to play around with different things as well. Like you have to go out of your comfort zone and play things that you are truly not, right? And I think this was very nice. And again, another thing I was very glad is because this silliness was very much needed after the Kshetrajna Padam. So the next two pieces are kind of companion pieces. So once I finish, I'll tell why. So the first one is actually performed by Ganesh Vasudeva Anna. He performed a Sarangapani Padam in Ananda Bhairavi Ragam. And again, similar to um Kavita Akka as well as Jyotsna Akka, I've seen him perform a full Margam before. And uh, I think I really like his dance a lot. I do prefer spending some time and trying to understand the portrayals in a Margam form better from him as well as Kavita Akka. I think for me, my favorite aspect of his abhinaya or his technique of dancing is where he's portraying a slower song, where there is more time to express things. And that is what I feel really suits him very much. So, in this evening, right, he performed a song with a Khandita Nayika. What is Khandita Nayika? She is someone who is very angry and very annoyed at the hero. She says, no, just go away. I don't want to talk to you. Basically, in a Khandita Nayika, there is anger, there is jealousy, there is hurt, and there are a lot of feelings in between. I feel similar to Virahut Khandita. Khandita Nayika, or this angry or jealous Nayika, has a lot of different ways to really interpret and perform her. Not everybody gets angry in the same way. And it can also be a different thing. Like, for instance, if you have someone who's very new to love, where they're having their first ever fight. So, of course, they'll be like, how dare you do this? There's like, don't talk to me ever again. Like, kind of acute emotions. Whereas, after some time, you're like, I'm just sick of hearing you. I don't want to talk to you. I just need time. I cannot deal with you right now. I'm just so angry. Like it's different. It's very relatable. Like for me, like again, really depends from person to person. But for me, I always found Kandita Naika to be very relatable, and I always liked her very much. And I liked her. I always liked the fact that she was able to stand up for herself and actually say, no, I'm drawing a line here, and this is my boundary, and no, I do not accept it. And that was always what I liked. And this particular Naika that Ganesha Anna actually performed was very, very nicely done. Basically, he's telling, "Don't touch my pallu," and immediately I was thinking, "Oh, is this like that "Chhod do achal zamana kya kahega" kind of a thing? Like "Chhod do achal." I thought, was it going to be that kind of a scenario? Not really, not at all, because that was very playful. And here, actually, Ganesha Anna was actually portraying two characters in some cases. One was the heroine who's just telling, I don't care about you. And the hero, who's Krishna, who's trying to, coax her and trying to charm her and, everything. So the thing is, this heroine is a lot more. mature. Like, at least his portrayal of the heroine is a lot more mature than expected. She is able to see through all of the nonsense that Krishna has been telling her. She knows, and she is like, you know what, I'm done with you. I don't care. I have listened to you and then gotten hurt so many times. At least, see, I don't remember if this was there in the lyric, but this was the emotion that this was the vibe I was getting from the portrayal. She was like, I can't, I'm just done. I've heard excuses like a million times. I do not have the patience to listen to them anymore. Please just leave me. And she was not this like leave me kind of person. She was like, you know what, just leave me. I'm done. And that was a very beautiful way of showing her as well, because ho- how thin her patience has run was definitely showing. And finally, Krishna actually um, heeds and he leaves in defeat. And this is, I think, the beauty of this entire piece shines the best. After he leaves and she closes the door, then you can see the toll the ordeal took on her. And you can see shades of Kalahantarita Naika. I don't think it was completely Kalahantarita, I don't think there were shades of it. So Kalahantarita Naika, for those of you who don't know, is a heroine who yells at the guy, says, "Get out, I don't want to see you," and then she regrets it. She's like, "Oh no, what have I done? I've sent him away. Now what do I do?" So they were, it was very beautifully portrayed in the end. And basically, the most striking thing there was the hurt and pain that his actions caused. How it, how she felt it. So that was portrayed very well. And yeah, overall, I really liked this piece. It was very nice. When I talk about the next piece, which is a piece in the Raga Varali, presented by Deepa Mahadevan Akka. I think this was my like co-favorite piece of the evening with Jyotsna Akka's performance. Again, before starting to talk about this, I think I need a little bit of like processing things myself. So the genius of this piece was that it was emotionally very impactful, very gratifying. It really hits you. It's right there. But it's not a black box. It's not abstract in a lot of ways, I can see the intentionality and the choreography and the kind of different techniques that Akka is using to show or bring about some of these emotions. So, for someone who likes puzzles and likes to pick apart different things and tries to solve them, I think this piece is really perfect because this gives you a very good idea of what do you do to get this kind of a result. And I think it's a master class for people who want to learn about intentionality in their choreography. It was beautiful. So, this was something that you can enjoy both emotionally as well as mentally. And of course, it did make me feel very emotional and kind of teary, but not the same as Jyotsnaka's. Like, that was like punch in my face. But this was like punch somewhere in my leg or something. It still hurts, but I'm still able to see and understand and analyze. I don't know if you're able to get the comparison. Both of them were beautiful and very similar and extremely different at the same time. Again, I'm talking about the impact of what happened with Deepa Akka's performance, let me just talk a little bit about the piece itself. So, this particular piece in Varali was about a Naika who is very trapped in a relationship that she feels is not gratifying to her anymore. When the hero calls her, she goes smiling, but there's this nagging sense that I'm not happy. The unhappiness is so much there, so much present. She is always thinking, like, there's this. The Naika had a very beautiful concept. I think they're very cleverly chosen because, at least, or I don't know if it was chosen like that or if it was choreographed like that, but both the choreographer as well as the heroine were introspective. She kept having self awareness is not a very common, like, I have not seen too many heroines who are this level of self aware. At the same time, not being self aware enough to understand that she probably is in an abusive relationship. She's trapped, she has nowhere to go. And she's like, why do I listen to, like, whenever he calls me, whenever he needs me to do this, why do I do these things? And how she feels that things are not good for her, or has she's not being treated well. She she's not able to speak up. She's a very non-confrontational heroine where she does not want to bring in that conflict and actually boldly say that, you know what, I need some distance, or I need boundaries, or I'm not happy. She's not willing to admit that to her partner. I think it's been a while and she has recently understood that she is unhappy. She's come to a realization that she's unhappy, but she does not know what to do with that fact. And she's stuck in this relationship where she feels suffocated. And like I was talking about, the brilliant choreography is where there was one particular thing in the initial part where Deepa Akka was showing a bird. This bird is caged, but letting it fly is not an option, not for her. Maybe it was the society, maybe it is not being sure of herself. It's about not being in that headspace to be out there and being independent, or knowing that there are people out there who might hurt her, or feeling very vulnerable. She can't be free. But when she is not free, she is caged. She is inside that place and she does not know what to do. And this, I feel, is one of the most strikingly beautiful imagery that I saw that evening. I think I noticed a lot of places where there was, like, I think her hands were shaking. I think they were on purpose. She was moving her hands and moving her legs in a very natural way, but I knew that it was part of the choreography, that it was intentional. So it affected me, at the same time made me wonder about the different techniques that she was using to make it more effective. So it was a very powerful and a very interesting piece to really think about. And like I was mentioning, there was a lot of introspective nature both on the side of the heroine as well as the choreographer. Like, why is she there, what is she doing? And similarly, the heroine is like, why am I feeling so bad? Like, I am feeling bad. What do I do? I'm stuck. I'm hitting a wall. Like, there is nothing else for me. And I could feel that the heroine was probably, like, maybe she was going through a lot. This is just speculation on my end. Maybe the heroine was depressed. I don't know what other kind of mental trauma that was there lurking beneath the surface, but I could see there was so much more. So much more that the heroine couldn't talk and openly express. And that that kind of a it was so difficult to watch, again very similar to Jyotsna's. It was very tough to watch. It was very tough to watch someone in that state. It was hitting way too close to home. And so basically, what I've written here is I've written not being able to help herself is both beautiful as well as very painful. Like I was mentioning, all her movements, Deepaka's movements, this is more of an analysis of her dance, was very intentional, at the same time very natural. And I think the choreography was amazing and was able to incorporate the clever Abhinaya. And she, like, yeah, she's able to she's stuck in an emotionally abusive relationship and not being able to go forward, and being able to perform this and choreographing it in such a clever way was, I think, one of the best. Oh, another small point I forgot to add was, apart from all of these things, Akka's Abhinaya is very soulful, and she expresses a lot using her eyes, which is again very similar to Roopa Akka's that I noticed. Her Abhinaya is also very similar. Like, there is this, like, even with the Padabhinaya that she does, Rupaka, like, there is this soulfulness which I also found very similar to Deepaka's kind of Abhinaya in that way. Now I want to compare and contrast Deepaka's piece to a couple of other pieces. Like, I've done a lot for Jyotsnaka's piece, where they're very similar but they're extremely distinctly different. Like, one is just painful to both of them are painful to watch. Let me just start from there. One is just experiencing the pain and grief of a lot of someone that is lost from your life, while the other is feeling suffocation and claustrophobia because you're stuck where you don't want to be. And one, you just feel; the other, you're able to think and analyze and be critical. And I think both of them are very beautiful and they work perfectly contrasting each other. And I think these two together are my favorite pieces of the evening. Another piece that I really want to contrast this piece is to actually Ganesh Anna's piece. So there, the Nayaka is just done. There is pain, there is grief, but they're just done. They're like, I don't want to deal with you anymore. So I'm assuming maybe this Naika eventually is able to break up with her Nayaka, her hero, and says, you know what, this is not making me happy. And then that change, that metamorphosis has given her a new boost in her self confidence. She is stronger and she is more sure of herself. Maybe then she can become Ganesh Anna's heroine and says, no, I'm sorry, no, I cannot deal with you anymore. And I think that is my head canon, that this heroine becomes this heroine. That's my favorite part. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So, the last piece of the evening was performed by Shrini Akka. It was in Raga Kedara Gowda. It was a Javali by Dharmapuri Subbarayar. Um Here again, the Nayaka is a Kandita Nayaka. The difference with this Kandita Nayaka and Ganesh Anna's Kandita Nayaka is that the entire mood of this piece is more joyous, it's more comedic, it's more making fun of things. It's kind of aimed at people who are a little younger. Like the Nayaka, both of them. They're a little young. There was a lot of like fun moments. So initially there was a portrayal of Krishna and how he was just hanging out with people. Then the heroine shows up. Oh, Krishna gets like, oh no, I'm in trouble. Then the Naika says, you know what, I'm go away. I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to be near you. And she's very angry when she's having that attitude. And Krishna kind of goes, and in the end, he begs her for forgiveness. And then she's like, really? He's like, yeah, yeah, really. I'm going to change. I'm going to change. And she's like, okay, fine. So this was kind of what was happening. I like the fact that the evening ended on such a like high note and a very cute kind of note, because that's what the audience needs, right? It's the entire thing is a journey, and understanding why certain things have to be placed in certain order is super important, and that was done very nicely. And ending on this piece was also very good because it was a high energy piece, it was a javali, and of course all the movements as well as the choreography in this, Shrini Akka performed it in a very energetic way. So it was like the closest thing a Javli can be to a Tilana. I don't know if that even makes sense, but in spirit it was. It was a Tilana. Emotionally, I'm not entirely sure of certain things. Like again, similar to my criticism of Rupa Ka's piece, I'm just trying to understand why so much time was spent on Krishna and establishing him. One thing was, it was very nice to see her doing these games where she was where Krishna was playing that game where his eyes was closed, and it was very nice to see. It was very entertaining, it was very enjoyable. But this is a question where I'm trying to understand why. I mean, it was a very beautiful setup for how he caught the wrong person, and she was like, how dare you. He turned out to be the heroine. Like when he was wearing that thing, he caught the heroine, and she was like, "How dare you!" It was very comedic. It was very cute. It was very funny. Like I understand that part, but yeah, it was again a very fun piece to watch. But I don't know if I have that many things to say with respect to like how I felt emotionally, other than glad and happy and fun. Yeah, all in all, it was really fun to watch the entire thing from beginning to end. I had a really good time, and of course all of these artists are all incredibly amazing, and I really hope to see them more and more. And yes, thank you so much for watching. And if you are in Bay Area and if any of these artists are performing, go get yourself a ticket and go watch their shows because it's so worth it. All of them. Thank you. Bye bye.